Welcome, everyone, to the Let's Talk Romance Books with New York Times bestselling author Katherine Center. Book page calls Katherine Center the reigning queen of comfort reads. She's the New York Times bestselling author of 9 novels, including How to Walk Away, Things You Save in a Fire, and her newest book, The Bodyguard. Katherine writes laugh and cry books about how life knocks us down and how we get back up. She's been compared with both Jane Austen and Nora Ephron, and the Dallas Morning News calls her stories satisfying in the most soul-nurturing way. Her books have been made countless best of lists, including Real Simple's Best Books of 2020, Amazon's Top 100 Books of 2019, Goodreads Best Books of the Year, and Katherine's summer 2022 book, The Bodyguard, was an instant New York Times bestseller, a People Best New Books pick, and just nominated for Book of the Year by Book of the Month Club. Best-selling author Emily Henry calls The Bodyguard a shot of pure joy. And best-selling author Helen Huang calls it a perfect feel-good romance. Katherine lives in her hometown of Houston, Texas, with her husband, 2 kids, and their fluffy but fierce dog. Welcome, Katherine. It is such an honor to finally meet you virtually. After enjoying your books for so long, since 2013, with The Lost Husband, so I can't believe this is like a dream come true for me to finally have you here with us.
It's been a long time. Thank you for having me come visit you. This is such a treat.
Yes, wonderful. One thing I ask our readers, our members, is what made them smile today? So I'm asking you, what made you smile today?
That's such a great question. I love that you asked that question, and that totally fits with what I'm doing all the time, which is trying to look for reasons to smile about things and look for things to laugh about and look for things to feel hopeful and cheerful about. There have been a lot because I'm very enthusiastic about trying to kind of savor joy when it comes along. But I'd say the last thing, the most recent thing was that I was just, petting my dog and scratching her on the belly, and she's being so cute that, that definitely made me smile. Dogs really do that. I don't know what it is about dogs.
Yes, I say, and I always ask people, because no matter what's happening in your life, there's always something just as simple as your pet, them coming to you and licking your face, or or just wanting a rub and attention.
Yeah,
that is something to be happy about and to make you smile. So wonderful. And now I know you're so busy writing, but do you have time to read? And if so, what are you currently reading?
I do. I try to do both all the time. Sometimes when I'm really, really in the sort of deep stages of laying out a first draft of a book, I don't read right then, because I just I don't read fiction, actually, I should say, because I always kind of happily read nonfiction. But yeah, I'm about to start soon, actually working on laying out the first draft of my 2024 book. And that takes it takes a few months, it'll be sort of starting in the fall and going till about March. And so during that time, what I try to just do is read the story that I'm writing kind of over and over and over again, and just kind of really stay in that sort of mental place. And so I do most of my reading, in the off season when I'm not actually trying to write that first draft. And so I've done a ton of reading this summer, and I'm suddenly blanking on what I'm currently reading right now. Well, I just listened to John and Julie Gottman's new book, which is John Gottman and Julie Gottman are psychologists, and they actually study love, and they study relationships, and they got kind of famous for being psychologists who could watch the way that couples interacted and spoke to each other. And just based on all kinds of nonverbal cues, they could determine if those couples would still be together, in 5 years, in 10 years, with like remarkable accuracy. So that's kind of what put them on the map. And they've written a whole bunch of books about relationships. And I love the way that they talk about how to be in love. And I'm always interested in the topic of love. And so anyway, I've just been listening to their brand new book, which is great and super fun. And I'm just about to start Jodi Picoult's new book, Mad Honey. That's going to be my next read, because I'm going to get to see her when she comes to Houston in a week or two, a week and a half. So I'm super excited for that.
Okay, that is awesome. Now, you mentioned, well, in the bio, it mentioned about having your fierce pet. What's its name?
Oh, her name is Sweetie. And my kids named her. And she was a rescue dog, so we don't really know what breed she is or anything, but she's about 20 pounds and she's very, very fluffy and yellow. She's a fluffy yellow. We call her a Texas fluff ball. We just pretend like that's a breed. And if you don't get her, trimmed, her hair will grow over her eyes like a sheepdog, and she'll just be like a mop of fur. So we take her fairly frequently to get trimmed, but I like it when she's short and looks like a little terrier, but I also love it when she gets long and moppy. She's kind of looking that way right now. She got trimmed at the beginning of the summer, and now it's all kind of grown out, and she's looking very fluffy right now, and extra cute.
Extra cute. Is she on social media? Do you have her posted on?
I do. I post a lot of pictures of my dog. I just have these like cuteness attacks, and I have to share with everybody. And, I did not really know that I was a dog person until I grew up, because my mom's allergic to dogs. So we never had them, when I was growing up. And now I feel like I just want them all. In fact, I feel like when I'm driving around town, I'm frequently kind of like shopping for dogs. Like I look at all the dogs going by, and I'll be driving along with my teenage son, and I'll be like, all right, I need you to get that one for me. Like, jump out, go grab that one. I want that dog. We've never actually stolen one yet, but no guarantees. I just don't know what will happen.
Okay, if a dog goes missing, we know where to go.
Yes, correct.
Okay. A tea or coffee lover, or if not, what do you enjoy drinking?
Thank you for asking. I am a total coffee person, big time. And I'm in a mixed marriage because my husband is a tea person. And so, that's a thing we have to negotiate. But he actually very sweetly gets up every morning and makes me coffee, which I love and I'm very grateful for. And I make him tea a lot, actually, although he has a very specific recipe for how it's supposed to be done. So sometimes I defer and let him put it all together. But yeah, I'm a coffee person, big time.
Coffee. So I am too. Do you take yours black or with?
I will drink it black if forced, but my preference is to actually put heavy whipping cream in the coffee. And I don't like any sugar, but I just like it to be sort of soft and fluffy and comforting.
Oh, that is great. I'm starting to learn how to drink black coffee without sugar. So it just has to be the right one. I haven't found it yet, but I'm testing. But but yeah, I'm a coffee lover too. And tea. Now complete this sentence. When I wake up every morning, That's
a really good sentence. When I wake up every morning, I look forward to joking around with my husband. That's probably the most fun. I mean, very quickly after getting up, we launch into, kid stuff, carpool stuff, all those other sort of also fun things. But there's a really fun little early morning moment when it's just the two of us, and, we're just kind of getting started for the day, and he's made coffee like a total sweetheart. And we get just like a minute to kind of like joke around with each other. And You know, the thing about my husband is that he's very, very funny. He's the funniest person I know. And I'm also pretty funny. I'm funnier when I'm around him. We kind of like set each other off. You know, we kind of get each other going. And there are not too many things that my husband and I are like the Venn diagram of our sets of interests is basically two separate circles. Like there's not too much overlap in the stuff that we're interested in. But the one thing that connects us all the time, like every day, is that we both love to make each other laugh, and we love to crack jokes and goof around. So
I think that's the recipe for happiness. You know, that is one of the secrets. Okay, name one thing on your bucket list.
I have had a real intense traveling bug, especially since the pandemic. You know, I think when our kids were little, I did not want to go anywhere. I was just tired, sleep deprived, and, you know, exhausted. And the idea of like packing, not just myself, but like everybody else, felt overwhelming. And so we didn't travel when our kids were littler, but they're getting big now. I mean, they're practically grown. And so, and especially ever since the pandemic, like I am having crazy wanderlust where I just want to go see the world. And so I would love to go to Korea and visit Seoul. I would love to go to Morocco. I would love to go to Ireland and Scotland. I'd love to go all over Europe. My mom just came back from a trip to South Africa. I would love to go to Hawaii. I would love to see Alaska. I'm just like going crazy. And I've kind of got a list going on my computer of all the places that I'd like to go visit.
I totally understand where you're coming from. Like when you said when the kids were younger about not traveling because not wanting to, because I even felt I needed a vacation from the vacation.
Exactly.
Because, you know, you come back like so exhausted, and then I'm like, okay, I need a break now. I need a vacation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now I think even like you said, you look forward to it because the kids are big and there's more to see. And you're right, the pandemic kind of made us, you know, like we want that more now than ever. And all the places you mentioned, oh, I'd love to visit too. So let me know, maybe we'll do a trip. I've had authors say that they want to do a road trip or a train ride or something. I said, hey, I'm on there. That's on my bucket list to visit all 50 states or 51. Well, all of America, and then more. I've been to Canada. So, but anyway, what's the weirdest or unique thing you own?
That's such a good question. You know, I own a lot of unique things actually, because our house is just kind of fun and funky and crazy, and almost everything in here is, you know, scavenged from relatives or, you know, found at antique shops, you know, over the years, or just sort of collected and painted, or we've even got a couple things we just like saw like in the heavy trash and we were like, we could fix that up, and we, you know, painted things. And so, yeah, everything in here is kind of special and funky. And my mom keeps giving us like cool stuff that belonged to her mother that she's kind of ready to set free. And so one of my favorite things that I have in our house is my grandmother had an identical twin sister. This is a little bit of a story. And they looked exactly the same. They used to dress alike and go to the rodeo together in little matching cowgirl outfits. They were the cutest, sweetest people. They were best friends. They used to dream each other's dreams. And when they were in their sort of 60s, my grandmother's identical twin sister had a stroke, and she actually wound up spending the rest of her life in a wheelchair. And after that happened, she couldn't move very much of her body below her neck, but she could use one of her arms really well, and she taught herself how to paint. And she became an incredibly prolific painter.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
in the last decade of her life. And I remember going to her house one time as a child and just seeing, I mean, there were just paintings floor to ceiling everywhere, gorgeous sceneries and landscapes and snowy fields and all kinds of amazing stuff. It was totally magical. And so and when her sister did that, my grandmother also took up painting, right, as a way to sort of be connected. And so I actually have paintings that were done by my great aunt, my grandmother's sister, and I have paintings that were done by my grandmother, and they're all just sort of hanging in our little sunroom on this gallery wall. And I think those are two of my favorite things to look at.
Oh, those are special. You know, that's incredible. And just looking behind at your wall, which is painted with flowers, and I think it's so happy. It's it's so unique, and you know, it's like life. It's beautiful. I love that. Now, maybe I'm curious because now you shared that story. Do you have any hobbies or particular skills, but aside from reading and writing?
I have many, 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 many hobbies and
Oh,
lots of unmarketable skills. Yeah, I'm very crafty. I'm very arty. I almost went to art school. I love to draw and to paint and to make things out of paper. I used to make artist books where I would sew the bindings and put things together. What else do I do? I know how to embroider. I mean, if there's a craft that you can name, I've probably tried it. And I probably love it. I mean, there's one or two that I have not liked, but it's so rare for me to not love to do a crafty thing because I kind of love them all.
well, I remember years ago, you used to host like a summer camp, right? Like a craft camp. Was it in the summer?
Yeah.
Do you still do that?
It was in the fall, and I didn't exactly host it, but I would go and teach there. And actually it's their 10-year anniversary this year. It's super cute. If you guys ever need an artistic retreat, it's called Lucky Star Art Camp. And it's in the hill country of Texas at this charming 1930s stone and wood summer camp on the river. And it's beautiful in the hill country. And yeah, it's a pretty magical place, actually. So yeah, I haven't done that in a few years because things got really busy, but I loved going. It was magical.
Yeah. Well, now that you're mentioning crafty, a lady gave me this week. She said, "Do you like gnomes?" And I said, "Yeah." Well, this is now my newest addition.
Whoa.
A book boyfriend for book covers when I start posting. Look at that on Facebook. But not only do I love crafts, she gave me one. I made the partner.
What? Oh my gosh. I love it.
So yeah, there she is. She doesn't have a name yet. I will introduce Marshall. His name is Marshall. Marty for short. And he got his name because the mom, or the one who gave me, her name is Marcia. And I immediately said, "This is Marshall." That's it. That he got his name. I'll call him Marty. You know? So
oh, they're so cute.
Yeah, to me, you know, but she's gonna have wigs. I'm gonna be playing around now because this is what I wanted to share about crafts, that you know, when someone makes you something, it holds, like, to me at least, and I bet to many, like a sentimental value. And then now I have a couple, and now they're going to be part of the Lit Layer, the Let's Talk Romance, sharing him. So anyway,
so
okay.
I love it.
Aren't they? I haven't even shared them on social media yet. Brand new. So now let's talk about romance. Okay. Why romance? Why did you decide to write in romance?
Oh my gosh, how many hours do we have? Y'all text your families. We're going to be here all night. I have so much to say on this topic. I mean, I could just, I don't know, even know where to start. I think ultimately for me, I didn't start out writing romance. I started out writing women's fiction, which are,
Mhm.
there's a lot of overlap there. And I was really kind of writing women's fiction with like strong romantic elements. And
Yes.
but the romance part was always my favorite part. And what's happened to me is with each book, I think it's gotten romancier and romancier, because I'm just like, you know what? Life is short. Let's get to the good stuff, Um, so I tend to think of the books that I write, broadly speaking, although this is a little bit different for the Bodyguard because the pandemic fundamentally changed my set of interests and I may never go back. But before the Bodyguard, which is the book I was writing during the pandemic, I would always think of my books as being a little bit kind of like half tragedy, half comedy, that there would be always sort of in the present moment of the story, something hard that the main character was having to go through or struggle with or figure out, something genuinely difficult, right?
Yes.
And then, so that would be like sort of half of the story was sort of the struggle, the hardship, the figuring stuff out. And I like that. And I still put that in stories, and I always will, because our hardships are the thing in our real lives and in fiction where wisdom comes from, right? That's where we figure out who we are and what really matters and what kind of lives we want to lead and who we want to be in the face of it all. So I think that stuff is really important to have in a story. But I also, and this is more and more true with each passing year, want the stories to be really, really fun and really, really delightful and really, really delicious and hopeful. And that for me, that feeling is a love story. And I've really actually done a huge amount of thinking about this and reading about it and working on it and sort of trying to puzzle it all out. And I have a kind of theory about love stories, about why they're so nourishing and why they're so appealing to us. And here's what it is. Can I tell you my theory?
Sure.
Okay. All novels, all books, all stories have to pull you through the story somehow, right? They have to keep you hooked. They have to keep you turning pages. They have to keep you interested. And there are a lot of different ways to do it. But the big thing that all of them do is create a sense of anticipation, right? So, and what we're doing is we're gathering the clues that the writers are giving us, and we're putting the clues together, and then we're kind of guessing like what's going to happen. So if it's a mystery, you're gathering the clues about like who was the killer, and if it's a thriller, you're gathering clues about where the danger is, right? And how they're going to figure it out and escape it. Those are powerful for pulling people through, which is how you get these books to be page turners. They're really useful. But there are two different kinds of anticipation. There is a thing called negatively valenced anticipation, which is basically like worry and dread and concern, and when you're experiencing negatively valenced anticipation, you're reading through the book, you're picking up the clues from the writer, and you're going, that kid's going to go to jail, right? Or like, that man is going to cheat on his wife, and you're reading along and you're putting the clues together and you're worried about the characters. That's one type, and it works, right? But what I've discovered in my own real adult life as a functioning human is that I have more than enough worry in real life. I worry about my kids, I worry about my dog, I worry about my parents, I worry about my friends. When I've got like free time to read, I just don't want to sign up for that feeling. I don't like that feeling of television static in your heart. So the only genre that I know of that uses positively valenced anticipation, which of course is anticipation that feels like hope and feels like excitement and feels like looking forward to something good in the future, is romance, right? Love stories create a sense of positive anticipation. What's pulling you through the story is this feeling that you are moving towards something better. And I love that feeling so much. I mean, I think it's mood enhancing, it's life changing, it's comforting, it's nourishing, it's inspiring, you know, and especially when you're going through hard stuff, and who isn't, you know, we all are all the time, to be able to find a story that gives you something beautiful and hopeful and delightful to look forward to, especially a love story where it's that really intense form of human connection. That's just like the best thing there is. And there's no other kind of story that does that to you in that same way. And I love that feeling, and I want it for myself, and I want to do it for other people. So the older I get and the wiser I get, the more I'm just doing more and more and more of that feeling to give us all this kind of delicious, hopeful goodness to hold on to. So that's my very long answer.
And I, well, that is beautiful, because I get a lot from reading your stories. There's only one of the recent ones, which is What I Wish For, which was the blue book. What You Wish For. I haven't read that one yet, because that was during a stressful time.
It got sucked into the pandemic for sure. Absolutely.
Yes. But I was telling readers that this is actually like a delicacy when I have a book from one of my favorite authors that I haven't read yet, because I know that I can have that treat for me when the moment is right, when, you know, so that is awesome. And what I love about your writing is that your characters, most, I know that they go through tough situations, like really hard struggles, or what it is that they're going through. But I love that no matter what their case, they always have a happy ending. They always find love in the end, no matter how tragic or how, you know, how complex it is.
Yeah.
And now when I think now from books that I've read in the past of yours, and now that I'm older and I've read more romance, it really, your books have stayed with me, your characters stay with me, even long after, like years to come. I know who they all are. My feelings probably when I was younger were different. And now, you know, that's special, that's something that I can still remember all of them. But now I'm happier, because when I think of them, I know that they had a happy ending. It's almost like I feel that they're real.
I also feel like they're real. I mean, I really, they feel very real to me, honestly.
Yeah. So I'm not saying which ones, or because if in case anyone hasn't read them, but yes, I just love that. Now, did you always dream about becoming a romance author or an author? Since when?
I always wanted to be a writer, really from the 6th grade on, but even sooner than that. I mean, I remember my 3rd grade teacher telling us that if you used a new word that you had just learned more than 3 times in conversation, it would belong to you. And I got very obsessed with this idea of like collecting words. I just wanted to get as many as I could. And then I remember my dad, that same year, my dad gave me a typewriter, a little electric typewriter. And I thought, well, great, now I can be a writer. Like that was the only thing I had needed. I just needed a typewriter and I could get it done. And I actually remember setting it up and putting a little piece of paper in and typing along. I did not know how to type, so I'm sure I was doing this. And it was, you know, I wrote like a page-long story in the 3rd grade. And when I got to the end of it, it wasn't very good. You know, and I remember like pulling it out and reading it and being like, oh, well, this isn't very good. Little did I know that it is a life's project to be a writer. So yeah, what really got me started was 6th grade. I was very dorky in the 6th grade and very awkward and very hard on myself and very miserable. And I and my 2 best friends, the 3 of us as a group, we decided to write fan fiction about the 1980s boy band Duran Duran.
Oh, yes.
We wrote novels we each wrote a separate novel on a notebook.
Okay.
And we cast ourselves as the main characters of the novels. And we wrote these stories about meeting Duran Duran. And of course, in my story, you know, I met Duran Duran, and then all 5 of them fell madly in love with me. And I had to decide, you know, which one to marry. And that was the whole plot of the whole thing. But really, that was it. I mean, that was the moment, like that year, like I was so miserable in the 6th grade, but I was so happy writing that story and sharing what I'd written with my friends and hearing what they'd written. And we would have these sleepovers on the weekends, and it was just bliss. And I got hooked on stories at that moment. Like that was it for me. Like from then on, I was sort of doomed to want to be a writer. So that's how it all got started.
Wow. Now, how would you describe your writing or your elevator pitch to someone who has never read your books?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, they're laugh and cry books, right? They're books that are gonna give you, hopefully, every feeling there is to feel. I definitely want to make you laugh. I don't mind if you cry a little bit too. That's what I always want from a book. I mean, the thing that guides me for how to write books and what to write about and where to take all the characters is, you know, my own internal compass about what I would like a story to do to me. There's a great quote about writing that I really love by this writing teacher named Dwight V. Swain. And he says, "A story is something you do to a reader." And I think about that all the time. You know, what do I want to do to people? And what do I want stories to do to me, you know, as a reader? And I think the process for me of getting better as a writer over the years has been to pay better and better attention at what I genuinely love in stories, not what I think I should love, not what my high school English teacher loved, but what I myself really, really love in a story, because I think that's the only compass you can follow when you're writing. You've got to go like just right into your own heart and write from there. And so I know that what I love in a story is swooniness and banter and hope and laughter. And I do love to see struggle in a story. You know, I like to see people have to go through hard things and figure out who they're going to be in the face of those things. So I love to see personal growth. I love to see character arcs. I love redemption. And I also really, really love a slow burn love story. You know, I don't want it to be over too fast. I want to be sort of tortured from page 1 all the way up to the last chapter, waiting for it all to come together. So I don't know if that's my elevator pitch exactly, but that's what I want. And that's what I'm always trying to do for everybody else.
Okay, you just described like everything that I love, and that's why I read romance. So you checked all the boxes. Okay, now about The Bodyguard. What inspired you to write The Bodyguard?
Ooh, well, the Bodyguard is the book that I was writing during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, you know, in my not super large house with 2 teenagers and, you know, our dog and my husband, all 4 of us, you know, in there together for a long time. And I was not feeling super hopeful about the human race during the pandemic. Like I was kind of watching it all happen in slow-mo. And I just thought, I mean, I really went to like a very dark place with it as I kind of watched it rolling in. I thought, we're all going to die. Like, this is it. Like, we're going to die. Like, this is not good. Like, this is the end. Yeah. And so I also had a book to write. And so I had this funny moment when I thought, okay, if this is the end of civilization as we know it, and I have a book to write, what book do I want to write, right? In the face of the end of everything. And I decided that what I really wanted to write in that moment was the sweetest, swooniest, funniest, most good-hearted romantic comedy that I could possibly write. And so I did. I mean, the Bodyguard is, I think, the funniest book that I've ever done. It is certainly crazily romantic. And it is not, you know, in most of my books, I have a kind of current struggle for the main character that's
Yeah.
hard, you know, where she has to suffer. And with The Bodyguard, I really didn't want to do that. I just kind of felt like, aren't we all suffering enough? Like, do I need to make her suffer? I just feel like I'm going to make this book as bright and sunshiny and hopeful and cheerful and swoony and delightful as I possibly can. And so that's what I did. I just gave myself permission to not make her suffer. Both of the characters have some things they need to overcome from their pasts.
Yeah.
But the present moment in the story is just piggyback rides and, you know, goofing around and having to share a bed and, you know, teasing each other and having all kinds of fun. So that's kind of where I wound up. And the one other thing I'll say about The Bodyguard real quick is that it's a little bit high concept, you know, because it's like movie star and his lady bodyguard. So that's all a little bit sort of high fantasy. But the ranch itself is very much rooted in authenticity because I am from Texas. And it's, you know, the book is set on a Texas ranch, and the ranch that I set the book on is my own grandparents' working cattle ranch that that my mom, you know, still runs. So it's that part of it for another writer might also be high fantasy, but for me, that's very authentic and very real.
Oh, it was so funny. The one where I don't know, this is a spoiler, but yeah, when the cows are in the picture. I'll just say that.
That is one of my favorite scenes in the book. And I've seen there's a moment when the main character, who's a real, you know, she's seen a lot of things. She's not easily flustered, but she has this moment where she's kind of unexpectedly frightened by a herd of cattle. And I've seen people online saying, you know, would a person really be scared of cows? And I just want to be like, I've been chased by a cow. They can be very scary.
Yes. Any animal bigger, you know, in weight or large. In a way.
They're large.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. But that was really funny. It had everything. So, well, a question I was asked, what do you hope readers will experience or gain when reading your stories?
You know, I really very strongly believe that fiction goes very deep for us as people. I think we read fiction and we think it's fun and we think it's entertainment, and it is. But I think on a deeper level, on a kind of metaphorical level, the stories that we go into when we're reading books and the stories we spend time in kind of help us wrestle with big questions in our lives, big, deep questions, sometimes questions so deep, we don't even really know that we're needing to ask them, right? I think they really are like nourishing, and they're really great teachers for us. We see how other people deal with things, hardships, situations, overwhelming stuff. And we're kind of getting this sort of virtual reality experience of getting to sort of live somebody else's life for a little while and kind of go through whatever that struggle is or that adventure or that experience. And then in theory, if the writer's done a good job, right, if they've done their job right, we get to go through that story and we get to come out on the other side pulling wisdom out of it in almost the way you would in real life when you've really gone through a real thing. So I think there's something really special and magical about fiction. And I hope that when people read my stories, they come out on the other side feeling satisfied and happy and hopefully awash with oxytocin and serotonin and all kinds of good, happy brain chemicals from the love story. But also I hope they come through with their perspective shifted a little bit, just kind of thinking about their lives and their own stuff, kind of turning back to their own lives in this new way with a little bit more compassion and, you know,
empathy.
Yeah. Empathy. Yeah. I mean, I always try to sort of pack a little bit of deep thoughts, you know, and wisdom into the stories about like, what does it all mean? And who are we going to be in the face of it all? And so, you know, I want everybody to have a good time. I mean, that's my number one thing, but I also do want to give us some wisdom to kind of hold on to and to carry forward and to take back and sort of apply to our own lives.
Yes. Well, I love about stories is that, you know, the empathy and resonating with certain characters and learning about other people that are different from what we do on our day to day, from our world, from our community, you know, seeing others like small town and city, and, you know, knowing that the story was the setting was in Texas of your families, you know, it it's kind of special. It's makes you see it differently. What are you currently working on now?
I've got a lot of things going on. It's all so fun and so exciting. So I've got I just turned in copy edits on my next summer book. So 2023. I'm losing track of the years, but yeah, next summer is
Yes.
2023. And that we have a title for that book. It is called Hello Stranger.
Oh,
And it's I don't know, I really love it. I'm super excited about it. It's just got sort of all the yummy stuff that I really love in a story. It's got great banter. It's got these very sort of lovable characters who are clashing but getting along in surprising ways that they never expected, and there's just a lot of fun stuff going on in that story. And we're going to do a cover reveal pretty soon, in the next month or so. It's got a beautiful cover in the works, not quite finished yet, but close. And it was illustrated by this, huh?
I know it's going to be beautiful because all your covers are gorgeous.
Yes, I feel so grateful for those covers. I mean, Macmillan, St. Martin's Press, they've done such an amazing job, and they have, you know, gave my books to this amazing cover designer named Olga Grillik. And she's designed amazing covers. And then with the Bodyguard, she designed it, but then they sent it to an illustrator, this woman named Katie Smith in Scotland, who painted that cover. And I just think it's so gorgeous, and her stuff is so gorgeous. So, and Katie Smith is illustrating Hello Stranger as well, and Olga designed it. So it's going to have a very similar look to this, but different.
Wow.
And then I'm just starting my summer 2024 book, which I'm doing research for it right now. And I always do a lot of research before I get started writing. And then I will kind of in the next couple months, get very quiet and start kind of laying down that first draft, which is always kind of, for me, the hardest part is just getting really quiet and sort of just hearing the people talking and figuring out what needs to happen when, and working through all those details. And that'll take until about March. And then, and then we'll be doing edits and all kinds of other fun things. But that story is also going to be, I mean, I can just hardly wait. I'm just salivating to write this story. It's going to be so much fun.
Well, we can't wait for it. That's for sure. Now, something that I took out from your bio, that it says the movie adaptation of Catherine's novel, The Lost Husband, starring Josh Duhamel, is that how you say it? It hit #1 on Netflix, and her novel, Happiness for Beginners, is in production now with the Netflix original starring Ellie Kemper. I am going to share this because, hold on, let me see, 1 second. Technology.
I get it.
Where's my mouse? Hold on. Those are your lovely covers. Hold
they
on.
are so fun to see all together like that.
Oh gosh, okay. This is Happiness for Beginners, and you already have a cast.
Actually, they've already filmed it.
Gosh, so this is, how did you feel when you found out that they were going to make Happiness for Beginners?
I mean, I felt amazing.
The Lost Husband, because that was the first one. Like, how does it feel to have books into a movie?
It feels amazing. I mean, it feels amazing. I love movies, and, I think we all do. The glamour, the excitement, the soundtracks, it's all just so fun. And with The Lost Husband, they filmed it in 2018 in the fall, and it wasn't really ready to be distributed until 2020. So The Lost Husband was actually slated to come out in theaters all across the country in April of 2020, which was actually the month that all the movie theaters in the country shut down.
Yes.
And so there was this moment when everything was getting canceled. You know, we were going to have a premiere, but that got canceled. You know, everything was shutting down. And I thought, oh, well, that's it. No one's ever going to see this. Like, and I was, you know, disappointed, but I also just wanted everyone to go inside and stay safe. I was like, it's fine, just don't get sick. But then what happened was they released it on streaming services. And it wasn't even Netflix at first. It was like Hulu and Vudu and Apple. And it just became this kind of word of mouth thing. You know, people were trapped in their houses, people were bored, they were scared, they were stressed out. And this was this comforting little movie from Texas. And so it just became a kind of phenomenon. I mean, it became it started like selling like hotcakes for some reason. And so Netflix got wind of this and offered to put it on Netflix, and they did. And when they put it on in August of 2020, the very next day it shot to #1, and it stayed there for like, I think it was 4 days. I mean, a while. And it continued to do so well on Netflix that it wound up in their top 25 movies for the year. And then it got released internationally, and it wound up in the top 10 movies for 2020 in 30 different countries around the world. So it was just this little independent movie from Texas, but it did really well. Based on the success of that film, the director, Vicky White, who wrote the screenplay, you know, adapted the book into a screenplay for The Lost Husband and directed it, she came back a little while later and said, you know, she actually said, I've been reading a bunch of other novels this year looking for my next project. And she said, but I just can't find anybody who I like as much as you. So she said, you know, would you want to do another project together? And I was like, yes, I would. Yes, I would love to do that. So that was very thrilling. And she made it happen. You know, she worked with Netflix and did it as a Netflix original. She got Ellie Kemper to come and be in it. Luke Grimes, who's in Yellowstone, playing Kevin Costner's son.
Yes.
Nico Santos, who is in Crazy Rich Asians and is very funny.
Yes.
And then Blythe Danner, who is Gwyneth Paltrow's mom. And they're all in it. There's a bunch of great people in it. It's a heck of a cast. And for both of those movies, I actually got to go visit the set, and I got to do like a little cameo in each one. So if you watch The Lost Husband, which is up on Netflix, you can see me at the farmer's market looking a little panicked as I realized that I do not know how to act.
I saw you last. I watched it. I watched it last night. I said, "Wait, is that her?" And I went,
yeah, it was very stressful. I was like, I can't focus with Josh Duhamel in the area. You know, it was just stressful. And then I got to go to Connecticut where they were filming the Happiness for Beginners movie. And I got to pretend to be a guest at the wedding of my own main character. So that was pretty fun. And I got to hang out in the background of the wedding as a wedding guest and drink pretend champagne with Blythe Danner for a day. So that was pretty great. And I got to meet the actors, and everybody was adorable. And I haven't seen the movie yet. It's all finished, but I haven't had a chance to see it yet. But I know it's going to be amazing just from the energy on that set. I mean, those actors were hilarious and charming and adorable, and I can't wait to see it.
Do you have a release date? Do you know when the release date is?
We don't know yet. We're, kind of any day now, we're hoping to hear. It's all up to Netflix. They just get to kind of figure out like when's best for their schedule. And it'll be sometime next year, sometime in 2023.
Wonderful.
And I will definitely be all over social media when I do know, and I'll have it in my newsletter and everything. So I will. Yes.
I already signed up to your newsletter, and I recommend everyone sign up to Katherine Center's newsletter. Just visit her website, katherincenter.com. Katherine with a K right there. Go in, sign up for her newsletter. Where can readers find you on social media or contact you? What's the best way, or where are you?
Yeah, you can always. It's easy to email me through my website if you need to reach me. I sort of do the website myself, so I'm on there a lot, and that email just comes right to me. My favorite social media is Instagram. I'm not on Twitter very much anymore. You sort of have to pick one, there's only so many hours in the day. I can't do them all. I do check in on
Yes.
Facebook. But I really do kind of love Instagram the best. And so you can definitely find me there. But yeah, definitely if you've had fun tonight and you want to stay in touch, come and sign up for the newsletter, because that is my favorite thing that I do, besides writing the books. Where I send out this newsletter like 4 times a year, plus a few extras right around book launch time usually. And it's like it's called 3 Good Things, and it's basically I just recommend cool stuff that I found to people. It's like, here's a great song, here's a great podcast, here's a great romantic comedy, here's a book I read that I love. So you can actually go on my website, and under I think it's newsletter, you can look at all the old ones and see, but it's really bright and colorful. And I think of it as like joy for your inbox. Yes. And I think it's fun. Yes. So I hope you'll like it.
Yes. Well, now it's time to play a game of 2 Truths and a Lie for our group. And let me share the screen. And we have here 2 Truths and a Lie. So members in the chat, put your, which you think is the lie. And we have for Katherine, number 1, I have never seen the Rocky Mountains. Number 2, I once met the actor Josh Duhamel, and he was so handsome, I forgot how to speak. Oops, hold on one second. I got nervous, and then I lost sight. Hold on, there we go. And number 3, I was on the drum corps in high school. So in the chat, which do you think is the lie? Okay, here we have number 1, 1, 1. They all think number 1 is the lie. Okay, Katherine, tell me one truth. Which is one truth?
I did forget how to speak when I met Josh Duhamel. I absolutely panicked. He was so handsome that I completely went utterly silent. I couldn't make any words. He was so tall and he was such a movie star. And I was just looking up at him, and he was trying to make conversation with me. He came over on the set and he was like, "It's so nice to meet you. I'm Josh." I was like, "I know who you are. Thank you." But he just wanted to ask me like the easiest, most softball questions, like, "So are you from Texas?" And I couldn't make any words. I just stood there kind of staring up at him and like making gurgling noises. That's all I could do. I felt like a rotisserie chicken at the grocery store. My skin got all hot and crackly, and I just sort of felt like woozy and dizzy. And my husband was standing right there just sort of staring at me like, "What is going on with you?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's very stressful." So yeah, that really did happen. I think the only time in my life I've ever forgotten how to make words. Words are like my favorite thing. So it was very weird.
You forgot all your English special words.
I did.
Right out. Okay. Okay, members, number 2 is off the chart now. You have number 1 or number 3. Which one do you think is the lie? Okay. I think 1. It seems like they think that 1 is the lie. So what is your next truth?
I was on the drum corps in high school. Yeah, I was on the drum corps in high school, and I loved it. I mean, I feel like I sort of peaked in high school. Really, I was so cool when I was on the drum corps back then. So I still know all the same, beats that we learned. I can still play them all, whether I'm using actual drumsticks or pencils. It's one of my sort of proudest achievements that I learned how to play all that cool stuff.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was such a pleasure, and we will now be asking our members to come down so we can mix and mingle in the after party.